friends and net aspirants, welcome back to yet another video session of High Point again. And my name is Legi Maria. Today in this video we are starting with Restoration Age. This is going to be the introductory video for the Restoration Age. So we have already finished the Puritan Age, and if you have missed any of the videos, the link to the playlist of the Puritan Age is available there in the I button. You can click it and have it. And yeah, Restoration Age is from 1660 to 1700. We will see why it is 1660 to 1700. And before that, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, subscribe to it and press the bell icon while you subscribe so that you get a notification when we upload something in here. And also visit my website www.highpoint.in to get immense number of detailed, simplified, well arranged study materials for your paper 2 of English language and literature UGC NET JRF. And also follow me on Instagram. There too you will get variety of materials relevant for your NTE UGC NET JRF English preparations. And if you want to know anything further related to the free bonuses that we are providing for our students in the form of personalized study guidelines and weekly text, and at the same time about study materials and the courses, then you can use this number, WhatsApp number, and also Instagram ID to reach out to me. Okay, moving on about the Restoration Age, let's have an introduction about Restoration Age. Restoration Age is from 1660 to 1700. Restoration Age is from 1660 to 1700. So see, this age got the name Restoration. Restoration is something must be restored, right? Something must be restored in this age. What was restored? It was monarchy. Monarchy was restored in England with King Charles II. Okay, so we have seen in Puritan Age, in the beginning of Puritan Age, we have seen that Charles I was executed as parliamentarians became victorious in the Civil War, and also Charles II, his son, he fled to France. So in 1660, what happened? Charles II came back to England and he was ascended to the throne of England. Hence, monarchy was restored in England. So, since monarchy was restored, and, there were many constraints and restrictions during the Puritan Age because Puritan ideals were popular those time. Theatre was closed down. Everything, was under their control, and whatever their ideals approved, they actually approved. So that's what happened. So everything after the restoration of monarchy, revolt, we can see a kind of general revolt prevailed against everything that is Puritan in name. Okay, so Puritan ideals, Puritan way of life, Puritan kind of literature. See, even Puritans considered that theatre was no more a good genre, good literary form, since they believed that it promotes immorality and licentious way of life and all. But in this age we can see that drama was the flourishing form, and drama actually restored. Theatre was also restored during this age, and also when theatre reopened, it actually we cannot found any kind of restriction that actually make a censorship about the content of theatre. So, many immoralities and intrigues and extramarital affairs of the upper class people, their way of life, their way of conduct, their manners were main discussion. So, everything that was Puritan in name, we can find a prevailing revolt was against it. Okay, everything that is Puritan in name. Then Puritan restrained replaced with the licentiousness of conduct. So there were a general kind of restrictions for people, censorships for people, for their general conduct, especially in literature there were. So, but during Restoration Age, everything was actually upside down. Then again, it was replaced with a very liberal and as well as to some extent immoral kind of conduct. Christian celebrations were revived. Since these Puritan people, they were against a Church of England. They were against certain Christian celebrations as well. But with the restoration of monarchy, what happened? Christian celebrations were also revived. And also we can see reopening of English theatre. I have already told you. Then emergence of political parties in parliament. So like we said and we learned in the overview, after this restoration, politically this was the major thing happened. Two major political parties emerged in parliament, or parliament was basically divided into mainly into two political affiliations, and these two parties were known as Whigs and Tories. Okay, Whigs and Tories. Please remember this name. Okay, Whigs and Tories. Whigs. So Whigs, this group actually challenged the king's priorities and agenda. So they actually challenged the authority of king, the decisions made by king, and the authority and rule of king. They challenged it. So they were mainly intellectuals actually, or court people or parliament people. They actually aimed for a more liberal and kind of Commonwealth kind of government should be there. They actually wanted that kind of a rule over England, not the monarchy. Tories, they actually supporting royal prerogatives. So they were supporters of the royal king or royal peoples or royal authority, and they supported royal cause and prerogatives. Tories. So you remember this, because from here onwards we can see that many authors, many poets and dramatists, they have a kind of affiliation to either to Whigs or either to Tories. So sometimes in the beginning of the career of a writer, he or she will be, mostly he will be a Whig or a Tory, but later he will change to another party. So in that way you have to remember who is a Whig and who what was Whig, a Whig supports and what was a Tory support. So in that way you have to remember. And also, since Charles II was returned from France, we can see a French influence in English court. Okay, see, we can see from age of revival or age of Anglo-Norman, towards the end of Anglo-Norman period, we can see that the connection between the English king, English royal people and French royal people, since a marriage happened, right? Edward III and Edward the Third, who married, not Edward III, Henry the Fourth and Catherine married together. So there is always a political and as well as kinship between the French royalty as well as English royalty. So that is there. Along with that, King Charles II returned from France. He was in exile in France. So we can see a French influence on English court in its manners and conduct and fashion and all. So these are some of the major things that you have to remember about Restoration age. Now let's see what is about literature of the age. Okay, literature of the age. So we can find a move of literature from fancy to wit, from poetry to prose. So literature was slowly moving from fancy to wit. So wit means it's a kind of, it's a faculty of language, right? Make witty dialogues and also that kind, a fancy mode of literature to wit. We can see that movement, and also a move from poetry to prose. See, in the next age, the neoclassical age that follows the Restoration age, we can see that prose was the major genre. So rise of the novel happened, periodical essays emerged and became popular. So in that way, even poetry was there, but still literature was moving slowly away, not away from, but the priorities were changing from poetry to prose. We can see an emergence of pamphlet literature in this age, as well as see, since it is the pre-age of neoclassical age, it is before the neoclassical age, we can see its influence. Actually, it is anticipating a more prose-oriented literature is going to happen in the next age. Then we can see diarists, also some diarists in this age, and also heroic plays. So the theatre was mainly heroic plays and also comedy of manners. So these were the major kind of, or major forms of drama we could see, or theater we could see. Heroic plays means mainly they actually dramatized the heroic qualities like love, honor, and courage. Mainly epic themes were there, and also hero will be dying, or they were tragedies. Heroic plays, they will die for love, honor, and they will be very courageous, and they'll be fighting wars. So that kind of plays, especially Dryden's all for love, or Antony and Cleopatra, is one of the major example for uh, heroic plays. And comedy of manners, this was the towering form of theatre during the Restoration age. Comedy of manners mainly discussed about the manners of the upper class people. Manners means their way of life, how they are conducting their life, and how they are, even their fashion, their and main entertainments, their intrigues, their kind of how they are conspiring against each other, what kind of how they are gossiping each other, and their extramarital affairs, their ridiculing everything related to the high class people's manners. And also basically who all are going to see this theater, see these theatrical performances, like comedy of manners or heroic plays, any other kind of theater or drama, only affordable by mainly by these higher class people. So they went to view or watch uh, comedy of manners, in which they are ridiculed, their way of life got ridiculed. So that was the main funny thing was happening here, because they gave money, they spent money to see ridiculed on themselves. And these comedy of manners, they were not at all serious. We just cannot actually in a one sit, you cannot actually say the in a way you cannot say the story as well, because story as such, it is not that important, but their way of how they are conducting their life, how they are acting throughout, how they are, how these people and how they are different from any other strata of the society, and what was their peculiar manners. So that kind of things actually derived comedy and laughter. Okay. So John Dryden was the most representative writer of the age, and he also died in the year 1700. And Dryden, he has written both heroic plays as well as comedy of manners. And also he has written many satirical poems like Make Fleckno, and he also has written critical treatises like critical treatises like the dramatic essay on dramatic poesy and all. Many questions I have seen from that work too. Now let's see in detail about heroic drama. So heroic drama, also known as heroic tragedy, I have already told you. Heroic drama is tragedy because it always ends with the death of the hero and heroine, and it is a tragedy, and mainly it was written in heroic couplets. We can see that imitation of a heroic poem. Dryden has done this. So heroic couplet, mainly Dryden has written uh, heroic tragedies or heroic drama in heroic couplets, and he has done many imitations of heroic poems, epic poems, and he has made heroic drama out of them. Then we can see that in this heroic drama, themes like fate of an empire, love, valor, courage, rhetoric, dialogues, literary kind of, full of images, figurative elements. So such kind of rhetoric dialogues we could see in this heroic drama, and also exotic kind of locales. So in this Dryden's All for Love or Antony and Cleopatra, we can see that Egyptian setting, Egypt setting we can see. So such kind of exotic locales also we can see in heroic drama. First heroic drama is The Siege of Rhodes by William D. Avenant. Okay, please remember this. First heroic drama is The Siege of Rhodes by William D. Avenant. So it was about a Turkish king, Sulaiman. Okay, so William D. Avenant has written The Siege of Rhodes, which is considered as the first heroic drama in English, and it is about, this play is about a Turkish king whose name is Sulaiman or Solaiman, and Dryden also had written many heroic dramas, and his heroic plays were mocked by Buckingham's The Rehearsal. So his Dryden got many rivals, like Thomas Shadwell is one among them, and also many Shaftesbury is another one, and Buckingham is another one. So his plays, Dryden's plays, were mocked by Buckingham's another play known as The Rehearsal. So Buckingham has written a play known as The Rehearsal, in which we can see that he is mocking Dryden's heroic dramas, or Dryden's plays as such. Okay, so that's all about heroic drama. Now let's move on to next slide. So about John Dryden, we have to learn certain important details. Why John Dryden is the most representative author of the Restoration age. John Dryden, he lived from 1631 to 1700. See, like I said, he died in 1700. So John Dryden, he lived from 1631 to 1700. And his first important work is Heroic Stanzas. Please remember this. I have seen question asking which was the first important work of John Dryden, or question about such many authors about like this, which was his first important work, which was the last published work of this particular author. So question can be asked. I have seen questions asking like that. So the first important work of John Dryden is Heroic Stanzas, and he has written many kind of work, and he was writing poetry, satires, pamphlets, and even critical treatises, and also plays, and every other genre. I think most of every other genre he has actually contributed immense number of works. And Astrea Redux is his another work, which was published in the year 1660. Astrea Redux, it actually celebrated the return of Charles II. Okay, so 1660 is the year of Charles II's return to the throne of England, and Astrea Redux, that celebrates the return of Charles II, king. And he was poet laureate in 1660, and 2 years later he also became royal historiographer. So he actually had two main posts to hold. In 1668 he became post laureate, and 2 years later, that means in 1670, he became royal historiographer. His first play was The Wild Gallant, which came out in 1664. So don't get confused. His first important work ever is Heroic Stanzas, but his first play was The Wild Gallant. The Wild Gallant came out in the year 1664, and these are some of his major works: The Rival Ladies in the year 1664, and The Indian Queen in 1664 again. And Dr. Johnson, Dr. Johnson means Dr. Samuel Johnson of the Neoclassical age. He called him as the father of English criticism. So John Dryden is known as the father of English criticism. Remember that, who is known as the father of English criticism and who called him as such. So John Dryden is the father of English criticism. Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, called him so. And he has written, every other field, in every other genre, he has written some of the major works. Okay, let's see some of his major works in every other genre. Major works of criticism. He has written some critical treatises, such as Essay of Dramatic Poesy in the year 1668, A Defense of an Essay in 1668, and Essay of Heroic Plays in 1672. He has written many satirical work as well. So Absalom and Achitophel is one among them, which came out in 1681. And Macflecknoe is very famous. We have learned about it in our MA classes. Most of us must have. So Macflecknoe in the year 1682. So about Macflecknoe and some of his works, there will be separate video sessions as well, so don't worry about that. And Religio Laici in the year 1682, and the Hind and the Panther in the year 1687. And he also has done many translations, such as Virgil's Aeneid, Homer's, sorry, I have written an extra E here, Homer's Iliad, then Ovid's Epistles and Metamorphoses. So Ovid has written Epistles and Metamorphoses, and Dryden has translated it into English, Epistles and Metamorphoses. So these are some of the major works by Dryden. So please do remember at least the titles. Okay, you have to remember the details also, because questions, I have seen questions, or you must be familiar with questions related to the works, and also from inside the work also there will be questions. So it is not actually optimum that you only know the works title, but you have to know some details related to these works as well. That we will do in later videos. Now, another major literary trend, or we can see the major literary towering trend of Restoration age, is comedy of manners. Comedy of manners, it is basically a genre in the play, in the drama section. So we can see that in comedy of manners, what we can see, it is actually contained with a flamboyant display of witty, blunt sexual dialogue. So mainly the dialogues will have a sexual connotation and sexual under meanings, and kind of everything that is very flamboyant, a very careless kind of display of witty, blunt, very sharp and direct sexual dialogues, and or boudoir intrigues, and also innuendos and rakish behavior. So these are the major things or major characteristics of comedy of manners. Then it is influenced mainly by Ben Jonson's comedy of humor. So Ben Jonson belongs to the age of Jacobean, or Jacobean age, and he was a major influencer of the playwrights who actually has written comedy of manners. Okay, he has written comedy of humors. So that influenced the writers of comedy of manners, or the playwrights of comedy of manners. So the major aim of comedy of manners was entertainment. So entertainment was the sole aim of comedy of manners, because there are many reasons. And by watching comedy of manners, don't think that we will arrive some sort of didactic ideas, or we will get some suggestions to have a good life, a better life, we will get motivated to live like that. No, it is not that case. And also look at the previous age. The previous age was Puritan age, and entertainment was restricted. We cannot see that entertainment was not the prime agenda of literature written during that age, because entertainment itself is corrupted, and entertainment itself was immoral according to the Puritans. So what was there as Puritan, everything was thrown out of the theatre, everything was thrown out of the court and general kind of ideals during the Restoration age. So entertainment was the only sole aim of comedy of manners. Nothing other we will get. So we will get entertained because of all these things, these blunt dialogues, these kind of witty displays, the kind of intrigues and the behaviors and the manners that they were displaying on the stage. And it actually stood as a mirror to the high society of the age. So what was the life of higher class people that was displayed, that is reflected in comedy of manners? Major proponents of comedy of manners: William Congreve, Remember Way of the World, William Congreve; George Etheredge, Vicar, Afra Benn. So Afra Benn was a lady writer, a woman writer of the time. So she was so daring, right, to write comedy of manners during this time. And she was also a woman writer, remember that. So these were some of the characteristics, as well as major people or proponents of comedy of manners, and some details related to comedy of manners. So let's see some of the major works of these major proponents of comedy of manners. George Etheredge, who lived from 1635 to 1691, has written certain major works in the genre comedy of manners. They are The Comical Revenge or Love in a Tub. Okay, The Comical Revenge or Love in a Tub, published in the year 1664. She would if she could in 1668, the man of mode in the year 1676. At least learn these titles, okay? This can be asked in the questions to arrange questions such as, to arrange these plays in chronological order, or pick out the play which is written or not written by Etheridge. So even if you don't know the correct answer, but if you could actually segregate the options, then certainly you can actually arrive at more or less the good or right answer, even if you don't know the answer correctly, by learning the titles of the works, the authors, and also their major works, as well as the age in which these authors belongs. Okay. So please remember the comic revenge or love in a tub and she would if she could. The Man of Mode, written by these plays, were written by George Etheridge and William Wycherley. William Wycherley's lifespan was from 1640 to 1715. Okay, 1640 to 1750. Love in a Wood. Love in a Wood in the year 1671 was written by Wycherley. The Gentleman Dancing Master, The Country Wife, The Plain Dealer. Country Wife came out in the year 1675 and The Plain Dealer in the year 1677. So these are the major works by William Wycherley. Do remember these important titles. He has written many number of plays, but these are only the important ones. I have only included the important ones. Then William Congreve. William Congreve is also one of the major proponents of comedy of manners, and William Congreve lived from 1670 to 1729. So his first major work is The Old Bachelor. The Old Bachelor came out in the year 1693, and The Double Dealer in the year 1694, and Love for Love in the year 1695, and The Morning Bride in the year 1697. He has also written Way of the World. Please remember that. The Old Bachelor, The Double Dealer, Love for Love, and The Morning Bride. Aphra Behn, the ages woman writer, woman playwright, lived from 1640 to 1689, and she was the first professional woman writer or playwright of English. Please remember that. Aphra Behn. Maybe some of you may not be familiar with this name, but still remember Aphra Behn as the first professional woman writer or playwright of English, and her major works. She has written a novel as well, and a tragedy, and some comedy of manners. The Forced Marriage. The Forced Marriage is a comedy of manners, came out in the year 1670. The Amorous Prince. It's a soul tragedy written by Aphra Behn. So The Amorous Prince is a tragedy, and it is the only tragedy written by her, and it was staged in the year 1671. And The Town Fob. The Town Fob is also a comedy of manners in the year 1676. Orunukko. Orunukko is a novel. Orunukko, I have seen plenty of questions related to Orunukko in previous question papers. Okay, Orunukko is a novel, and it was written in the year 1688. So remember about Aphra Behn as the first professional woman writer or playwright of the age, or English literature as well. Forced Marriage, Amorous Prince, The Town Fob, and Orunukko. And Orunukko is the novel, and Amorous Prince is her only tragedy. So remember at least the titles written by Aphra Behn, or not only Aphra Behn, at least remember the titles of the works written by these important these important authors. Now this age also had some diarists, okay, some diarists who has written diaries, personal diaries, who kept personal diaries, and also later they published them and made them public. Okay, so these two, remember these two names, John Evelyn and Samuel Pepys. John Evelyn and Samuel Pepys, I have included them because they are important. At least I have seen 5 to 6 questions related to them. Ask him the contents of their diary from which year to which year, and Samuel Pepys belongs to which year, or pick out the major diarist from among the options. So in that way, many questions I have seen about, especially about Samuel Pepys. Okay, and I have seen John Evelyn in many options as well. So in set of options that we could see along with the question, so I have seen John Evelyn's name in quite a number of times. So John Evelyn lived from 1620 to 1706, and his uh, diary is titled as Memoirs Illustrative of the Life and Writings of John Evelyn. Okay, Memoirs Illustrative of the Life and Writings of John Evelyn came out in the year 1818. It was not during the Restoration Age itself they have published it, but after their life, posthumously they have published it. So Memoirs Illustrative of the Life and Writings of John Evelyn, published in the year 1818, but it covers years between 1641 and 1697. This information is important. So Evelyn's diary, Evelyn's this work, actually it is a diary, covers the years between 1641 to 1697. The next diarist of the age is Samuel Pepys. Samuel Pepys lived from 1633 to 1708. 1633 to 1708, and his diary is titled as Diary. Okay, his diary is titled as Diary, and it covers years from 1660 to 1669. So I have seen question exactly asking about this particular period. Okay, particular period covers in his diary 1660 to 1669. Please do remember them, their names and the titles of their diary, and also the age or the years covering in their diary. Okay. So about the content of the diary and all, they are discussing about the personal life, and while they were discussing, they will say something related to the political scenario as well as cultural scenario of the time. So the specific things I have mentioned in my website, so you can go and check. Okay, so the other writers of the age, other writers, so mainly they were prose writers. Other writers means prose writers. Samuel Butler. Okay, Samuel Butler lived from 1613 to 1680. So Samuel Butler, he has written a mock heroic poem. So he has written Hudibras. Hudibras came out in the year 1663. So Hudibras mainly mocking Puritan ideals. Okay, Puritan ideas, Puritan way of life, actually mocked by Samuel Butler in the work Hudibras. And he got the title Hudibras from Spenser's The Faerie Queene. Okay, so the title alludes, or title, he derives the title from Spenser. Edmund Spenser belongs to the age of Elizabeth. Edmund Spenser's Faerie Queene. He got the name from Hudibras from Faerie Queene. Next important person, important literary figure of the age is John Bunyan. John Bunyan lived from 1628 to 1688. His The Pilgrim's Progress. I think all of you must have familiar with this particular work. The Pilgrim's Progress came out in the year 1678. Pilgrim's Progress came out in the year 1678. The next work by John Bunyan is The Life and Death of Mr. Badman. The Life and Death of Mr. Badman came out in the year 1680. Another major intellectual as well as prose writer of this age is John Locke, who lived from 1632 to 1704. Okay, John Locke lived from 1632 to 1704. His major work is An Essay Concerning Human Understanding. Came out in the year 1690. So these people, Samuel Butler, John Bunyan and John Locke, remember their major works and their the year of its publication and details about them. So I think that's all about Restoration Age. This was more than sufficient that you need to know as an introduction about Restoration Age. We will look at individual important authors and their works in this lecture series in the upcoming videos. So stay tuned to my channel and subscribe to my channel. And if you are seriously looking for some study materials, you can visit my website, so you can stop digging for study materials and invest your time in revising them, finishing them, and be prepared for your NTA UGC NET JRF paper 2 exam. Okay, and here also follow me on Instagram, and if you liked this video, press the like button and use the WhatsApp number to reach out to me. Okay, so the link to the website is there in the description box. You can click it and see what we are providing there after having the free trial. If you're interested, let me know, or you can join the course from the website itself. Okay, meet you in the next video session. Until then, stay tuned to High Point and be happy and strive for the best in your life. Thank you for watching this video. Tata, bye bye.